The Blackened Key. Secrets Unlocked. Part 1. Chapter 1. A Disturbing Disappearance. Detective Arnav Nigam had encountered many strange cases in his time, but none had unsettled him like the one that had brought him to the Fitzwilliam manor. Lady Margaret Fitzwilliam, the family's only daughter, had disappeared without a trace. The last anyone saw of her, she was in her room, staring out the window at dusk. But by the time the household searched for her, there was no sign of struggle, just an odd blackened key resting on her vanity. Arnav stood in the study, his eyes scanning the faces of the Fitzwilliam family, all of whom seemed strangely composed, considering the gravity of the situation. Beside him was his assistant, Lillian Moore, whose sharp intellect often helped him uncover hidden details. Her quiet presence was a welcome contrast to the tense atmosphere inside the manor. The family appeared distraught, but something wasn't quite right. Lord Alistair Fitzwilliam, the stoic patriarch, seemed too composed. Lady Eleanor Fitzwilliam, frail and delicate, was fidgeting with a handkerchief. Their eldest son, Cecil Fitzwilliam, appeared impatient, while Fred Fitzwilliam, the youngest, seemed withdrawn and distant. The family's longtime maid, Edith Cartwright, and their butler, Mr. Thomas Blackwell, both looked uneasy. Arnav took in the details. The family's tension spoke volumes. They were hiding something. Of that he was sure. Chapter 2. The Fitzwilliam household. Arnav had already examined Lady Margaret's room. The key was placed deliberately on her vanity, not just carelessly forgotten. It was as though someone wanted it to be found. The blackened key didn't resemble any ordinary household key. Its dark surface, almost scorched, intrigued him. "Arnav, this is the strangest case," Lillian remarked, her voice soft yet filled with concern. "Who would leave such a clue in plain view?" Arnav studied the key once more. "It's too obvious. Whoever took Lady Margaret wanted us to find it. They want us to ask questions." "Lord Fitzwilliam, did your daughter have any enemies?" Arnav inquired. "Anyone who might have wanted to harm her?" Lord Fitzwilliam stiffened. "None that I know of. Margaret was well behaved. This must be a mistake." Lady Eleanor spoke up, her voice trembling. She had been different lately, withdrawn, and she kept going to the family crypt." "The crypt?" Lillian asked, her brow furrowing. "What was she looking for there?" "I don't know," Lady Eleanor replied, eyes downcast. "But she was obsessed with it. I thought it was just a passing fascination. She wouldn't explain why she kept going there. She also kept that strange key with her. I didn't think much of it at the time." Chapter 3. The Crypt. Uncovering the Truth. The Fitzwilliam family crypt was an eerie, overgrown place on the estate grounds. Few ever visited it, but Arnav had a hunch that Lady Margaret's visits were no coincidence. Lillian walked beside him as they made their way down a narrow path to the crypt, the atmosphere growing more oppressive with each step. "Look here," Lillian said suddenly, pointing to a section of the crypt wall that had been disturbed. The faint outline of a door, covered by years of ivy and neglect, was clearly visible now. Arnav stepped forward and carefully pressed the blackened key into a rusted lock. It fit perfectly. The door creaked open, revealing an underground chamber. The flickering light from their lantern illuminated the room, which was cluttered with old family records, yellowed papers, and a journal. Arnav's pulse quickened as he picked up the journal. It was Lady Margaret's. Lillian looked over his shoulder as Arnav opened it, scanning the pages. His eyes widened as he read aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. "The key unlocks more than the crypt. It unlocks the truth. The family must never know what's hidden beneath the house. I must stop him before it's too late. Lillian's breath caught. Who is she talking about? Arnav frowned. The culprit is one of them. They're still inside the house. Chapter 4. Secrets in the Shadows. Arnav and Lillian quickly retreated from the crypt, the weight of Margaret's words heavy in their minds. As they made their way back to the manor, the realization hit Arnav. Someone within the house had played a part in Margaret's disappearance. But who? The tension among the Fitzwilliams had only grown since they arrived. Arnav continued to question them, but the answers he received were increasingly evasive. Lillian's sharp eye noticed something unsettling. Fred Fitzwilliam, the youngest son, had been acting oddly. Unlike his older brother Cecil, who was outwardly aggressive and defensive, Fred was withdrawn, almost too quiet. He seemed unnerved by their presence, but offered no useful information when questioned. Arnav and Lillian decided to focus on Fred. As they questioned the household staff, they learned that Fred had been spending long hours alone in his room, rarely leaving. Was he hiding something? Lillian's instincts told her that Fred was connected to the mystery. But how? Chapter 5. The Family's Hidden Past. Lillian's investigation into the Fitzwilliams' history revealed a long-standing family feud, one involving an estranged relative who had been trying to expose the Fitzwilliams' darkest secret. Arnav believed that Lady Margaret had uncovered something dangerous, and her investigation into the crypt had triggered a chain of events that led to her disappearance. Meanwhile, the family's behavior became more erratic. Lord Fitzwilliam's calm, authoritative facade was cracking, and his interactions with Cecil grew more strained. Cecil's arrogance turned into hostility when Arnav pressed him further about Margaret's recent behavior. The blackened key, Arnav believed, was more than just a symbol. It was the gateway to the family's darkest secrets. It wasn't just tied to the crypt, it was tied to something hidden within the walls of the estate itself. Chapter 6. The Blackened Key. After days of investigation, Arnav and Lillian returned to the crypt, their minds racing with questions. The blackened key, they now realized, had been altered, burnt or scorched in some way. It wasn't just a household key. It was an object that had been deliberately tampered with, likely to conceal its true purpose. Someone went to great lengths to hide the truth, Lillian observed, her gaze narrowing as she watched Arnav carefully examine the key. But who? Arnav frowned. The key is a symbol of something far darker than we thought. It's tied to the family's past, to secrets they never wanted anyone to uncover. As Arnav inserted the key into the lock once more, he could feel the weight of the family's secrets pressing in on him. This case was no longer just about a missing woman. It was about the unraveling of a family's long-held lies, and someone within that house wanted those secrets to remain buried at any cost. Chapter 7. The Family. Divided back at the manor, tensions had reached a boiling point. The Fitzwilliams, once a proud family, were now divided. Each member seemed to be pointing fingers at one another. Arnav was certain that the family's dark history was playing a pivotal role in Margaret's disappearance, and it was only a matter of time before the truth came to light. As Arnav and Lillian discussed their findings, the pieces began to fall into place. They were closer to the truth than ever before, but the danger was palpable. Whoever was behind Margaret's disappearance would stop at nothing to keep their secrets hidden. End of Part 1.